Once, in the heart of upstate New York, where the Hudson River twines through lush valleys and the Catskill Mountains stand sentinel, there lived a young woman named Sarah. Her life was one of steady rhythms, guided by the change of seasons in her family's apple orchard. Each autumn, the air turned crisp with the scent of harvest, and as the last leaf fluttered to the ground, Sarah would feel the pangs of an unfulfilled yearning. Her roots in this land ran deep, ancient as the knotted trees her ancestors planted, yet her spirit ached for vistas unseen and stories untold. Sarah's father often spoke of her great-great-grandmother, who voyaged from Romania with nothing but a weathered trunk, its contents few but precious. Amongst old letters and faded photographs rested an heirloom of incomparable value, a silver vine circlet rumored to possess the power to heal and harmonize. The lore of her kin whispered that it had gone missing during the turmoil of the Second World War, spirited away to Europe's concealed corners. Halfway across America, in the bustling essence of Kansas City, Richard thrived amid the clatter of jazz and the aroma of smoked brisket. An archivist by trade, he was a seeker of hidden narratives sewn into the fabric of bygone eras. His home was an eclectic sanctuary of artifacts and old tomes, each a whisper from the past. His connection to the European continent was a threadbare one, tenderly held by his grandfather's tales of valor in the dusty streets of Lisbon during the war. On a frost-touched morning, Sarah received a parcel. It bore no return address, but within its folds lay an enigma, a letter, written in an elegant cursive, that spoke of the circlet. It was in Europe, the letter claimed, but its whereabouts were a puzzle that beckoned her. Meanwhile, Richard stumbled upon an intriguing footnote in a wartime journal held within the city's archives. It hinted at a covert operation that once passed through Lisbon, Nice, Bucharest, and Rome, alluding to an object of great significance. Their paths converged with the fortuity of a predestined encounter. A genealogy conference in Albany brought Richard's lecture on wartime heirlooms to Sarah's backyard. Their mutual intrigue in the history of lost treasures sparked an immediate bond. When Sarah mentioned her family circlet, the die was cast. Together, they resolved to embark on a poignant quest, to uncover the truth of their shared legacy and reclaim the heirloom that promised to mend the fractures of their lineage. The venture began with the fervor of purpose. Sarah and Richard's first port of call was Bucharest, where the past clung to the narrow cobblestone streets like ivy. Once known as Little Paris, the city's pulse beat through grand avenues and belle-epic facades now faded by time's relentless march. They searched the archives, interviewing locals whose memories wove tales of a city that danced on despite the capricious shadow of war. A breakthrough came when they unearthed an old photograph, the circlet, a silver gleam amidst rubble, worn by a nameless woman with a defiant stare. With the enigma deepening, they journeyed to Rome, a city of eternal stories, where the past and present danced in a lover's embrace. The Vatican's secret archives held whispers of an object of peace delivered by a Romanian émigré to keep it from malevolent hands. Sarah and Richard's pursuit led them to an elderly nun whose family had once safeguarded the circlet. Her tale wove sorrow and courage. A cousin who had vanished into the war-torn melee, the circlet's last known guardian. Their chase of specters brought them next to Lisbon, where history lingered in the air, as thick as the scent of salt and sardines. The city sang of explorers who had set across uncharted waters, an apt metaphor for the daunting path they had undertaken. In an antiquarian shop nestled beneath the slopes of the Alfama district, they discovered a trove of letters, one sealed with a curious emblem. It was the vine of the circlet, an image etched into Sarah's soul. The letter spoke of a journey further south, to a tranquil French village where refugees had once sought solace. On to Nice, with its azure embrace of sea and sky that promised a momentary reprieve from their fervid search. It was here, amidst the collision of opulent Art Deco and the serenity of the Mediterranean, that the past greeted them in the guise of an octogenarian artist. His grandfather had been the last to paint the circlet, he revealed, not as a wartime spoil, but as a beacon of hope upon a young refugee's brow. Each revelation was a thread in the intricate tapestry they unraveled, each sorrow and joy experienced by their forebears a piece of themselves. As they traveled, Sarah found the vastness she yearned for, but also the warmth of shared purpose. Richard, whose life had been steeped in solitary contemplation, discovered the unspoken melody of companionship. Their odyssey was shaping them, just as they were shaping its unfolding narrative. The duo's quest culminated in a bucolic village cradled by the gentle hills of Provence. It was a place out of time, where the sea whispered secrets to the olive groves and the sun kissed the earth with a lover's warmth. Here, they uncovered the final chapter of their tapestry, a diary from a young woman who had found refuge in the village, the circlet her only link to the home she had fled. The entries spoke of a village elder, a woman of peculiar habits and gentle eyes, who had recognized the circlet's significance. Together, they had buried it beneath an ancient olive tree, to be reclaimed when the world was ready for its healing embrace. Sarah and Richard's journey through the village felt like a shared dream. The olive groves stood as sentinels to their purpose, the scent of blooming lavender a balm to the weariness of long travel. With hearts brimming with anticipation and hands that trembled with the gravity of the moment, they unearthed the circlet. The cool silver felt alive against Sarah's skin, a link to her past that pulsed with the promise of future harmonies. As they stood beneath the boughs of the olive tree, the circlet's legend unfurled. The object was not merely an heirloom. It was a testament to the resilience and hope that thrummed within their bloodlines. The circlet had journeyed through darkness and light, a silent witness to the best and worst of humanity. Yet it had endured, much like the love that bound their families across the chasm of time. In the golden twilight of the village, with the circlet's weight a tender presence between them, Sarah and Richard grappled with the enormity of the discovery. Their adventure had been a key, unlocking the vaults of their heritage and illuminating the unspoken tales therein. The circlet, now resting against the backdrop of Sarah's silver hair, seemed to hum with the energy of 1,000 untold stories. Their return to the stark contrasts of New York and Kansas City was tempered by the wealth of experience and understanding they had gained. Sarah, who had sought the horizon's promise, found that the greatest journeys often led one home. Richard, whose passion for the past had often isolated him, discovered the profound connection that shared stories could forge. The heirloom, with its reputed mystical qualities, was perhaps less a source of magic than a mirror to the soul. It reflected the light of those who bore it, magnifying the bonds of kinship and the capacity for healing and growth. As Sarah and Richard parted ways, the promise of new beginnings shone in their eyes, no longer solely as individuals, but as custodians of a legacy larger than themselves. The journey they had shared was one of discovery, not just of the circlet, but of the inexhaustible depths within themselves. As they stepped forward into the unwritten chapters of their lives, the circlet served as a silent testament to the enduring ties of family, heritage, and the healing power of unity and love.